Hello, guys, and welcome back to this week's episode of Mystic in the Machine. Plenty to talk about this week. I feel like there's been way too much breaking news in the short span of 7 days, and it's really frying my brain.
It's one hell of a ride at the moment.
Yeah.
One hell of a show.
America really wants all the smoke right now. Someone asked in the chat if I'm Team Kamala. I find that offensive.
You are.
I find it offensive that you would assume that I would be Team Kamala.
Black girls stick together.
Is that true?
That's what the culture tells us.
I don't believe that because no black girls are sticking up for me. when I have a team of really animated black female fans, then I'll maybe consider joining the hive mind. But so far it hasn't really benefited me that much. So I'm not really that animated about it. I'm not animated about either candidates. A lot of people have asked me who I'm supporting or blah 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 blah. I don't care, which we'll get into a bit today. But what about you? Are you particularly invested on either side of this?
I don't think anyone's really going to achieve meaningful peace or anything good. It's just going to be more management of the deep state wishes
on both sides. So it's just whatever.
No matter what happens.
You
might get a slightly different flavor or a different distraction from the thing that they do to ultimately do the same thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the same thing will be achieved.
Very true. Someone said 90s rave energy up in here. That's exactly the vibe that we're going for.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you for noticing.
That was a little jam I cooked together.
Thank you for noticing. Let's start with the funniest tweet I found this week. Let's show them that. We're gonna get to Amber Rose in a minute. But yeah, this is really funny.
Angie's tweet of the week.
This is my tweet of the week.
Is this going to be the new segment that we start the show with?
Yes,
Angie's
I think we should. I think we should. So someone says Trump picked a guy experienced in bickering with Indian women, 40 chest. Because JD Vance's wife is Indian.
Is Kamala Indian?
I don't know. I feel like
I thought she was a fellow black.
That's what people say. She seems like a racially ambiguous person to me, but I guess because race matters so much in America, if you're racially ambiguous, you can kind of play racial 3D chess in a way.
I mean, she looks like, if I don't know, you put some different makeup on it and you were sending her in as a spy, she could probably blag it.
Yeah, she could blag it for a lot of different...
With some vocal lessons,
yeah,
and some regional accent lessons and such, she could spy it in
I'm
the
pretty
Indian
sure
embassy.
I'm pretty sure she could, and that's kind of, I feel like, a superpower that a lot of racially ambiguous people have. But at the same time, somewhere in America, it can be a disadvantage, because I remember...
it's like me.
What? Wait, whoa. Like you?
Yeah.
What?
If I put a fez on and grow my beard out, I could go and hang out with the Turks.
Very true.
If I shave my beard and keep a fashionable short stash and then wear a nice silk shirt or something, I could fit right in with the Italians.
Very true.
If I give it like a goatee and then I don't know, wear some sort of more looser fitting shirt.
Yeah.
And some beige shorts or something, I could fit in Espanol.
Very true. Very true. Every time we go on holiday anywhere, people just speak their language.
If I put
weird.
some Adidas full tracksuit on and squat down with a skull,
yeah, you could do the Slav thing as well.
I could Slav it up.
Pretty much.
I feel like me and Kamala, I'm probably more advanced on a spy level than Kamala. She's only got the Indian thing and black.
I don't know what
she.
I don't know. I think she has South Asian heritage and black heritage. To me, she just looks like a standard, racially ambiguous looking woman.
I've just covered most of a whole big continent. Do you know what I mean? She's got 2 demographics. I'm a way better spy than Kamala Harris.
Are you saying that you should be the Democratic nominee?
No, I'm saying that I would be a better spy.
You have the power to unite
Harris.
the people.
No, not at all. Not at all.
With your racial ambiguity.
Maybe all of the bodegas would vote for me.
I think so.
Basically,
I think so.
And I think that might be enough of a vote to swing it.
I think so. Vote for Jake. Jake is the solution.
All the bodega
in case it doesn't
owners.
work out for Kamala. But yeah, I don't know what her racial background is, and we're going to talk about Amber Rose in a minute because she got a bunch of backlash as well for being at the RNC and endorsing Trump. And the first thing that people attacked her on obviously was like, oh, you're black, you're like a black woman, like how could you endorse Trump or whatever. She's mixed race. And your race shouldn't have anything to do with like what candidate you're endorsing. It should be about like the policies or whatever. And yeah, I don't know, I wouldn't want to have a mixed kid in America because they'll get like a complex.
What was crazy is I remember like one of like Chris Rock's most legendary stand-up sets.
Yeah.
He makes a joke literally about this. I think because it was like maybe just rumored at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason that didn't.
Oh, it didn't
switch
show
over.
up. Oh man, sorry guys, we didn't realize.
Apologies.
Our bad.
OBS having another
Yeah,
fun one.
OBS is having
My
a
bad.
bit of a nightmare. Oh well.
What
But yeah,
was I
go
saying?
on then. Chris Rock.
Oh yeah, like he made a joke of like I think it was just like Obama was running of like, oh, they think all the black people are just gonna be like chocolate. Chocolate's my flavor. I'm gonna vote chocolate.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like that is over 10 years old.
Yeah, it is.
And it feels like culture
hasn't
and
moved
everything.
on at all.
Well, no, it has massively.
No,
like,
not
from,
meant.
like, from 2012 or something like that. Culture's massively.
But I mean, when it comes
shifted.
to the way people think about race, it hasn't shifted at all, is what I mean.
I think in its most simplistic base assumptions
Yeah.
of like the way that people would sort of navigate politics, they still operate in a very stagnant way.
Yeah.
But then I think that that's also just like one of those things that people like to tell themselves.
Probably, yeah.
Because when you look at the numbers,
Yeah.
and I'm always a numbers guy, it's not the truth.
No.
Trump's got more of a vote than any right-wing candidate.
More
has
of a black vote, you mean?
and Hispanic vote.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
a
But
bunch-
even then, I mean, back to the whole race thing, like, one thing that annoys me is that in America, they always kind of try to pressure you to choose a side or like a racial tribe if you're mixed race. Like I remember the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I don't know if you
she is
followed.
both. There we go. So the chat's confirmed. Her mum is Tamil Indian.
Yeah, cool.
And she's half black.
But yeah, anyway, I remember with the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. One of the attack points that Kendrick Lamar went after Drake on was the fact that he's not only Canadian, but that he's also not fully black. It was the whole sort of they're not like us type of whatever.
Oh.
And it's like America always does this weird thing where they try to make you choose, even though a mixed person is mixed. Like that's their racial identity. They're not white. They're not black. They're mixed. They're something else. They're a completely new sort of category of being. And that's why I wouldn't want to have a kid in America where people are like obsessed with race, where they're mixed, because what they're trying to communicate to you is that you're like fragmented and you're not whole. Whereas you're a whole person, you're not fragmented. Like you have a whole identity, which is being mixed. I don't know why that's such a fucking problem or why it's so difficult for people to just like accept that.
I think all the American rappers have got a little bee in their bonnet about the biggest, most successful rapper in the world being Canadian.
I guess, probably.
Because they probably see it as like a specifically USA
Yeah.
genre. And like there's a lot of Canadian country music as well. It feels like they do like ape, like it's a bit sad.
Yeah, a bit sad.
Like bros, do you like Tom Green was doing his own thing. Like it might have been the Bum Bum song, but like he was doing his own thing. You can't deny that.
It kind of reminds me when Samuel L. Jackson, or was it Snoop Dogg, one of them threw shade at the fact that there's like a lot of black British actors.
Yeah.
It's
what
like
are you on about, mate? This is
they were
insane.
like, oh, like
You mean in the English-speaking movie-making market, there is like more than just America that has black people, and they are also like
good actors,
English-speaking, and are good actors.
And we have RADA. Have RADA here. We have like so many institutions that like produce great actors. The Royal Shakespeare Company,
but the
like
music thing, it would be like Scotland trying to make loads of garage, like trying to that being their like popular thing, and trying to like ape all of like the classically kind of like
London,
British genres.
Yeah,
if they were really like going.
Did you just say
after...
British? Are you saying Scotland isn't part of British?
Sorry, I mean
Britain?
I misspoke
Jesus.
there. It's misspoke there. Like English sort of like rooted sort of rave culture
Yeah.
sort of stuff, or just like music culture sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it would be a bit cringe.
Yeah.
If, like they just got a bunch of Scottish junglists like giving it their hardest. It's like, dude, you're all the way up in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Well, yeah. Well, anyway, with the whole racial thing with Kamala Harris, I don't know if it's going to make much of a difference in terms of her chances against Trump. What do you think? Reading the American temperature right now, and since these sort of superficial things are what people pay attention to, do you think the Trump Vance ticket looks more attractive than the Kamala Harris ticket?
I think a bunch of people that were probably on the fence are probably just going to vote for Kamala Harris
You
because
think so?
she's like not a retarded old man. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
true.
So like if
that is
now-
one aspect of it.
if all those people are like, oh my god, I can't believe they're going to run Joe Biden, look how of much of a fool he looks like. Even if I wouldn't admit it to my people, like friends in public or whatever, I am going to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Now, internally, like they wouldn't have that excuse of like, oh, this guy is like incompetent, like George Clooney and like all these dudes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All the people, all the Hollywood like intelligentsia that have kind of said, oh, what is it going to be like in 4 years? This is not looking good, guys. Maybe
So
we should have a rethink.
Might...
All these big influential libs. I'm sure Sean Penn's had a word.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Yeah, it's Sean Penn. I'm not mistaken.
So what, you think we're in for our Mamala era? Remember, did you ever see the clip where Drew Barrymore had Kamala Harris on her show?
Brave. It was brave for Drew Barrymore. It was
and
great.
Drew Barrymore like broke down and started calling her Mamala and like crying and like doing all this BPD shit.
It was a brave moment from Drew Barrymore.
I think that she kind of represents the psyche of America right now, and like perhaps America wants Mamala.
Exactly. These things manifest, Angie.
But it really is. It's like a fucking choice between the Mamala or like the weird daddy that works in finance. So yeah, I'm interested to see who.
Weird daddy that works in finance. Is that how you would describe Trump?
Yeah.
I guess he was like kind of like weird, like rich uncle that you never had or whatever.
Yeah.
That you sort of hear about or whatever. That was just sort of like very distant. But
sends you some money once in a while.
Yeah, like at Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care.
And then you read in the paper that he fucked a porn star. Very common, everyday things that many people can relate to.
Well, yeah, I mean, even then, the RNC also has been going on, and that's also been like a fun spectacle to watch. I guess we should start with Amber Rose and her glittering endorsement.
OBS will work for that one.
Yeah,
That might be the only one of the night it will actually work for, so let's do that.
Let's have a look. Let's have a butchers.
My name is Amber Rose. I'm a model and entrepreneur. Thank you. But most importantly, I'm a mother. My whole world revolves around providing for my children, keeping them safe, and giving them an opportunity for a better life. That's something that unites all American parents, whether we're Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, or liberals. We all want a better country for our children. But I'm here tonight to tell you, no matter your political background, that the best chance we have to give our babies a better life is to elect Donald Trump president of the United States.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I guess like what I find really interesting is that like last week we talked about how Julia Fox and the sort of like Ho Brigade are like rebranding as feminists. Mm-hmm. After the sort of hoeing career kind of runs its course, there's this sort of push to rebrand into some political identity. And Amber Rose tried the whole feminist thing. I don't know if you remember the slut walk from a few years ago, where she was like the voice of like, you know, being sexually liberated and ran through. And anyone who said anything against like not being promiscuous, it was like, you're just jealous because you can't get rappers. And now she's Holy Mother Mary of Trump. Mother of Trump.
I remember when
and she's like, you know, at the fucking RNC, and she's talking about being a mom, and she's sort of so you have one subset of whores that are rebranding as feminists, and another subset of whores that are rebranding as like MAGA, and people are just like lapping it up.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
But I remember when she was doing the slut walk thing.
Yeah.
She didn't have face tattoos.
Did she not?
I'm almost certain she didn't have that horrendous face tattoo. Because
Oh,
I always kind of
God.
thought like, oh, what a pretty lady. Why has she got such a strange choice of haircut?
Yeah.
Bald chicks are fucking gross. No matter what's going on downstairs. You know? Like, but now bald chick with a fucking like Yeezy, whatever the fuck you would describe this fucking like mumble rap shit fucking thing. And the whole time I was squinting, trying to read what the fuck it says on her face. I've got to find out.
I don't even want to know. I don't even fucking care.
I want to know. I want to know.
Oh my God.
What does it say?
What does Amber
face.
Rose's tattoo say? I bet it's going to be something like it's like for a dead relative, and we're going to end up feeling really guilty for being
Bash
Cassie.
slash
Why?
honors her 2 children, Sebastian Thomas and Slash Edwards. I mean, are you a really big Guns N' Roses fan? Like, that's really cringe that you would name your kid Slash, number one.
Yeah.
Whom she eventually called Bash. Okay. I mean, I don't remember her well-known facial tattoo.
Neither do I.
That was the first time I've ever seen the well-known facial tattoo, but I'm not someone that watches TMZ or like reads those magazines that ladies like and stuff like that.
I'm not either, if that was like subtle shade.
It wasn't, but it was just to say that I'm not someone that consumes that kind of media.
No,
so
yeah.
maybe everybody else knows about Amber Rose's very famous Bash slash tattoo, but for me, I was like, what the fuck is that? That looks fucking stupid.
But anyway, back to the whole rebrand thing. Right, the election season is always a time when people are trying to sort of position themselves so that they can kind of jump on the media bandwagon and like grift on whatever, thing is the most salient. And of course, it would be, dumb if Trump's campaign didn't attempt to absorb the thirst to benefit themselves. But I think it's like super undignified. One of the things that I found really gross was that like, I didn't show the whole clip, but in one of the other parts of the clip, she was there like, you guys are my people. And like trying to make it seem as if she had found her tribe and like she was looking for, like she had sort of cemented some sense of identity.
My dad says this every time we bring up America. It's like, he says it's our fault. It's Britain's fault because we excommunicated all of our Puritans and like proper religiously mental people to America, basically, and that's kind of like a lot of the people that like make up America now, like the descendants of these like religious nut jobs. And so there's a sort of like a big fervent hole in a lot of their chests that they have to fill with something
Cults.
that ends up literally replacing church.
Yeah.
And then when
politics
when
is that now
when booty shakers get up on like political stands and talk about things like that, it kind of is sort of like is drawing a line between like a political ideology and you wanting to see sort of whatever change in the country.
Yeah, but it's
or
also
even
the
fake,
mechanism
like,
through
who
which
buys any of it that is any of it's going to change? I mean, that you've got to be severely kind of
but it's also
naive
like,
at this point to
it's
believe
also
that kind of
the mechanism through which people establish not only their sense of identity but their sense of purpose, their social circle, their bag sometimes. And like I remember watching the speech and it like looked like she's like reading from it sounded like she's reading from a teleprompter. But every time the crowd cheered for one of the statements
she
that
did
she
look
was
like she was reading.
Yeah, every time the crowd cheered for one of the statements that she was clearly trained to pause for, she literally would like beam because it was like, I'm getting attention, ha ha ha, which is the thing that she's really fucking after. She's looking for a place to get attention, which is what she's always done.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with politics. There's nothing to do with anyone's serious stances. This was like a fucking pageant show where like media influencers were like, and other fucking figures were auditioning for their place in the Trump regime.
Yeah, but it does say something that, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there was a time, like, in politics in America, especially, like, I guess you're thinking, like, sort of maybe in the 60s with people like Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
People that were like, yeah, sure, he, like, cheated on his missus a little bit, like, a little bit of the white poontang. But, like, he was a upstanding guy in his environment or whatever, right? Like, he was a super articulate speaker and, like,
Harvard graduate,
super smart guy.
Preacher.
And the sorts of people that you would involve in politics are sort of degrading a lot.
Yeah,
And at a
big
quicker
time.
pace
Big time.
in America more than
Anywhere
other
else,
places.
yeah.
Because I think because the first time around they did elect a reality TV guy as the president. As much as everybody rallies around Trump, and he is certainly Mr. America. Like if you were going to have like a figure like that photo we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
So it's like a painting. It's like a Renaissance painting.
It really was.
Like
yeah.
it's
so dramatic and evocative.
And if you're going to have someone that kind of embolizes a lot of the, stereotypical things about America, Trump would certainly kind of be that.
Yeah, for sure.
Which might be gross to hear for a lot of people, but it's kind of
It's
totally
true.
the truth.
It is definitely true. And speaking of which, Hulk Hogan was at the RNC, and he gave the most America, fuck yeah.
Well, we
speech.
can't show the video because OBS is fucking up, but I'm sure everybody's seen that.
Oh
thing.
yeah,
But yeah, basically,
can we really not show it?
I don't think so. I think
Oh.
I'll click to the thing and it will stay on the Amber Rose.
Oh fuck!
tab, like
Never
last
mind.
time. So, but yeah, like I think it's like the video of him basically ripping off his shirt and talking about Trumpomania, brother, and like getting fucking fully into it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny because he's just like doing the Camacho bit that Trump can't do.
Yeah.
Because Trump isn't that kind of physically like shit, right? But
No.
now he just has stand-in Camacho guys
Yeah.
from like Hulk Hogan that can
Pretty
just fucking
much.
go. Ugh! And it is literally idiocracy just manifesting.
I mean,
I reckon if Trump does get elected, maybe it would happen either way. But I think if Trump gets elected, there's a high chance that American crops are going to start getting watered with Gatorade. Okay?
are you sure that
like-
doesn't already happen?
I'm saying that it might be a bit of a kids in cages situation, and it might happen like regardless. Okay,
Oh
but
my God.
like I think there's more of a chance of the Camacho party, okay, watering the crops with
Very
Gatorade.
true. Very true.
That's the
Trump
only
also
thing.
blew a kiss to Hulk Hogan. It was pretty hot.
I bet he does that to all the girls.
Probably.
He does that to all those big hulking men that were surrounding him from the Secret Service or his private security, whatever the fuck
yeah.
it was, like at that second rally. And
Oh my
stuff.
god.
At the end of every night, he just like he blows them all a
Blows
big kiss.
them all a big kiss.
Good job, Hank.
Grabs
That's
them
what he
all by the
does.
pussy. Oh my god. No, I mean, I definitely.
Trump blowing Hulk a kiss sent me the first gay president.
Which way, American people? The first black woman president or the first gay president? You know.
I think it's just metrosexual. Trump's always been a bit of a metrosexual.
He's a Gemini. I'm
someone that,
telling you, all
you know,
Gemini men are a little bit gay.
As much as he can deny
Just
it,
a little bit.
you can
Even if they're
see-
not like gay, they're spiritually gay in
you
some
can see
way.
how much makeup he puts on his face.
Yeah.
Like he's not that he's gay, but like you know,
He's spiritually gay.
he's metrosexual. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. So
yeah,
he can
yeah.
blow kisses without it being
Exactly.
gay. He can get away with that.
But yeah, there was also the dog, the big fat bulldog as well, at the RNC, and I was like, what is this? What is going on? Why the hell?
That was funny, and I don't think many people have seen that clip. Actually, not as many people.
It
so I
looks
do
like
wish
it
we
looked
could
like
play
the
that one.
Kentucky Derby or something. Like,
It was really like a scene out
Like-
of like a side mission in GTA or something. It was just
like, aren't
what the
Americans
fuck is happening
embarrassed? Aren't you guys? Don't you guys have shame? Is all I'm saying. Like,
here? This is the clip where the guy is literally like some sort of southern politician dude.
yeah,
and then-
and
then
he's like big and fat, like the dog is.
Yeah. and he's sort of rallying and doing a speech, and then just randomly has this huge, great, bulking fucking British bulldog.
Yeah,
like next to him, the super fucking fat.
It was
Look
cute
at his
though.
dog.
It was cute though. It was cute though. I love that dog. Oh my gosh. Quinn's ideas this year. He says he's gay and that he's a Gemini. See, I told you.
This tracks.
It's
there you
true.
go.
Astrology does not lie. Kanye, with his obsession with fashion, and I'm telling you, even if they're not gay, they're spiritually gay. Like Mercury is like the androgynous, like, you know, trickster or whatever. So that's why Trump has this kind of draggish diva vibe to him. I'm telling you. What else is being said? Amadan says he assumed Quinn was a Capricorn. Why? Is it because he's so prolific with his output? Is it because he stays putting out that content? Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, the RNC was super weird, and like it almost was like Trump had like the mandate of heaven. That was sort of the vibe I got from it. People were wearing the weird like thing on their ear to mimic him. There wasn't very much policy discussed at all. It was all just pageantry.
Did that young fella who was trying to be the new Hunter S. Thompson go and write about it?
Which one?
You know, we looked at his article about, what was it? Not Slutfest or something. It was the one where they did that satanic fucking ritual in front of a bunch of people.
No.
Vibe Fest.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, oh, I went there on shrooms and fucking saw all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
And he gave a real sort of gonzo vibe sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
RNC, dude, that's like the perfect place
That's
to
the place
be.
to do some gonzo journalism.
You gotta get your fucking briefcase and get on everything on there, and then like wander around and see what the vibe is.
Yeah, take like a heroic dose of acid, go to the RNC, write the best gonzo journalism article that you can like manage, for sure. I'll do it in the next 4 years. That's my goal. Whenever the next presidential election swings around, I'll definitely do that.
It might be quite a fun hobby to pick up. Like, instead of sort of like going to all of these like protests and stuff and sort of expecting anything to happen, just go like rat-assed on acid and then try to write like an article afterwards, or try and write it down afterwards.
Capturing all the sensations and the sounds and the feelings and the...
Even if it's just for your own diary, you don't like release it. I feel like that's like the sign of a life well lived.
Just mimicking Hunter S. Thompson. Now's the time period. Now's the time period for it, to be honest.
He's just like not a hero of our times, of the sober like yummy vibe times,
the
beige
green
mum
juice,
times.
Fucking vegan.
It's like
times.
Not the time for Hunter S. Thompson.
No,
he would
unfortunately
be
not.
Like such a pirate these days.
He would be a pariah, like a total pariah.
How can you do that much cocaine for breakfast? Watch me.
Well, anyway, like I was saying, the RNC, not much policy discussed. It was more of like the cult of Trump, bestowing the mandate of heaven upon their hero. And that kind of leads us to the next part, which is to discuss Peter Thiel. And yes, despite the fact that the Trump movement really subverts a lot of the shady, fucked up shit that has been going on within the DNC apparatus over the last few years, the populism that's rising and that's like being siphoned into Trump's kind of apparatus is kind of being used as a cover for more sinister things, you know? That's not to say that all the people who are behind Trump, or even Trump himself or whatever, it's more the fact that, like, you know, populism, especially on social media, is kind of, and any sort of dissenting opinion or whatever is kind of wrapped up in the apparatus of places like Twitter, places like Rumble. Rumble is also one of Peter Thiel's, I think he funds it or something. It's one of his like outlets or whatever. And a lot of people who, you know, during the COVID years, for instance, journalists who were censored, people who were, you know, kicked off of platforms, who had their livelihoods upset for, you know, daring to state their opinions, people who were like heavily penalized by, you know, these social media platforms. A lot of them, unfortunately, were sort of cowed by these experiences and decided to kind of embrace people like Elon Musk, people like Peter Thiel as these sort of savior figures. Very much in the same way that people are kind of people who are, you know, against the deep state and against, you know, the establishment are kind of using Trump as like a savior figure in that sense. And I think that's really dangerous, because when you know, align yourself behind a savior figure, you're negating your own autonomy and your own ability to impact things. And you're also leaving the door open for like insidious interests. And yeah, Whitney Webb wrote this really interesting article. We'll put it in the description after the show. And it kind of goes into the really shady ties between Trump's vice president pick, JD Vance, and Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel seems to kind of have his fingers in every pie in the sort of dissident corner. Anywhere where people are quote unquote dissenting, Peter Thiel so happens to be there, funding people, funding platforms, and now politicians. And yeah, so I guess we should start at the beginning. He recruited JD Vance while JD Vance was in university, and was like a huge backer of his. Donated 15 million to his congressional campaign, which is I think one of the highest sums in like U.S. history. He also, isn't Peter Thiel's only high-profile protege. Sam Altman of OpenAI is also one of Peter Thiel's proteges. There's a lot of, Peter Thiel has his hands in a lot of, the current emerging technocracy, including Palantir, which is kind of the meat of what we wanted to talk about today. Do you want to kind of talk about what Palantir is?
Well, it's sort of like it's like a tech firm that does stuff like more involving networking and data and that kind of thing, but like Raytheon. So like they do all of this like super crazy CIA level data gathering and sort of mining for pre-crime, essentially. It sort of sounds almost like
something out of a Dick novel. Yeah,
something out of one of my favorite novels. But that was sort of, I guess, the paranoia that Philip was living with for his whole life. And I don't know if it's sort of a thing of he was someone that got, visions of the future and sort of, because he talks a lot about dreams and about voices and stuff like that as a major influence for the sorts of ideas and stuff that he would write about, basically. And it is pretty trippy that like the very thing that he would be super paranoid about is now like
well, not just him. He
manifested.
wasn't the only visionary science fiction writer that sort of anticipated this technocratic undercurrent. J.G. Ballard did the same thing as well. J.G. Ballard's High Rise novel was one that everybody should read. Quinn's Ideas, if you're still here, that's one that you should definitely.
Yeah, dude, you should get into the Philip K. Dick fucking universe. Like they've botched a bunch of those fucking adaptations and shit. So fuck the movies, but the books are like so fucking good, dude. Like the books are fucking amazing.
Well, anyway, back to Palantir. Palantir is sort of doing the job that the CIA and other intelligence apparatus can't sort of publicly do, but they're doing it kind of in the private sector. And Peter Thiel has obviously been super integral in this. I think he founded Palantir, right? It's his company.
The best way to describe what Palantir are doing is like it is from one of those Philip K. Dick ones.
Yeah,
and it's like from is it the one with Tom Cruise?
Minority Report.
Yeah. Yes, it is
the precogs with the precogs.
Yeah, precogs, and with so instead of like Palantir having 4 like genetically weird people that have psychic abilities to see the future, they have these supercomputers which take in such a vast amount of information about everybody and their histories and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And is able to, with arguably whatever success they would say, obviously, that they can predict people that would be committing certain crimes.
Or have certain ideological positions that might be subversive, all sorts of things. And it's really interesting that this guy who's like in cahoots with the deep state, who has extrajudicial private apparatus that's being used in the same way that 4-letter agencies would use the same technology. It just goes to show how much Silicon Valley is kind of taking the place of 4-letter agencies, or kind of like merging with the 4-letter agencies. And the other annoying thing is this guy is on, especially in the dissident sort of scene, there are lots of people that sort of view him as some kind of freedom fighter because he allows people to have free speech on his platforms. It's literally,
Well, he's also like Elon Musk is it just as much in the pockets of every sort of like deep state interest, and Palantir to whatever extent, because he does a bunch of contracts for people like the CIA to do satellites and all sorts of other stuff. So like, none of this stuff exists within a place that you think like, oh, I've got like free speech to do whatever. And also, I don't even think that those people want fucking free speech. People just want the ability to shitpost in any which way they possibly can
want,
to get attention.
Yeah. And to monetize it and to monetize that attention.
And if it means fucking posting Nazi flags and whatever the fuck it might be and posing as some kind of fucking ultra whatever the fuck, like that's what people fucking do.
Yeah.
And if you were a real dissident and you were really afraid of what the government was saying, then you wouldn't be on the fucking open internet. You'd be on the deep net. You'd be on fucking Onion, and you'd be in those fucking places that are all the other people that operate that don't want to be caught by the Fed and are doing genuinely subversive and illegal things. Good or bad, mostly bad, probably, you know.
But I guess the thing is, like, you know, one of the things that, like, you know, I found really interesting is that it's called Palantir because in Lord of the Rings, the Palantir is the thing that Saruman has, and it's like the thing that allows you to kind of like remote view.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is like a thing, or if that's just like a coincidence or whatever.
I think a lot of the remote viewing like stuff is heavily linked to all the paranormal research the CIA have done, and
Peter Thiel also funds a bunch of research into like occult stuff. Like there's a whole kind of weird sort of technological accelerationist undercurrent to his whole agenda, and he's sort of using the populist movement and the sort of dissident energy in order to sort of conceal his technological accelerationist agenda. You know, that's why he has his hands in all of these different in all of these different things. And that's my major fear, is that, you know, I feel like the Trump presidency, if it happens, despite the fact that, yes, it may undo a lot of the fucked up things that the Democrats have done over the last 4 years, I think it's going to be integral in ushering in the like technological dystopia through the sort of weird factions on the dissident right that like have this weird technocratic agenda that they're hiding behind populist rhetoric. And I think JD Vance's appointment to office kind of shows that.
Even this week, like in the UK, it was announced that we're going to start using AI facial recognition technology alongside all of our like CCTV networks and like, all of this kind of stuff, and that people are concerned about making digital identification and that sort of thing. And this is all happening within the first week of a Labour government, of not like the Conservatives, but this is a sort of like, if this was a trajectory of like things you would expect like the bad powerful people to do, it's just literally commencing without any stop or any like thought about it whatsoever. And the whole other opposition party is now in place. Does that not sort of like say a little bit more about what the real kind of like all of the other shit is stuff they don't really give a fuck about? It doesn't matter, because that's not the bigger picture for them, that is like so macro that most of us can't even fucking wrap our heads around it. It's like sums of money and fucking all the rest of it that is just like so vast you can't really like actually really
wrap your head
imagine
around it.
Like you can imagine $1 trillion, sure, but you can't really imagine it. Do you know what I mean? Like you can understand that that is a number that exists, but you cannot really wrap around the scale of difference from that to your life, which is probably in the hundreds or thousand decimal place, like a normal person, right? So like the vast difference in like interests and stakes for these sorts of people is just that. And Peter Thiel and his buddies are just one section of like the fucking Bilderberg group, which is also what fucking
Whitney Webb talks about. He's also a big part of like Bilderberg,
but they're
as
just
well.
one side of it, and the other people that are like also fucking,
it's a
like,
factional
doing all sorts of other shady shit and funding the funders of the Democrats and whatever the fuck. They are just on the other table of the Bilderberg group. They are in the same fucking club, and they're all fucking like just trying to make the fucking money for themselves and not lose any fucking power. And if they can keep using technology to like secure that position for themselves and make it further unquestioning than it already is, then
they'll do that.
They'll keep doing that.
And that's the thing, that people are too sort of wrapped up in the divisive bipartisan spectacle that they're ignoring the real fight, which is the fight against the techno dystopia. And both factions of the elite are pro acceleration. They are full speed ahead. There's a lot more that they agree on than they disagree on, which is the reason why I don't give a shit about whether it's Trump or Kamala regardless of whatever her fucking racial background is, different toilets, same shit. I guess one plus side is that if you're somebody who does have dissident opinions, the right sort of tends to be less hostile towards that and allows you to, their platforms allow you to say what you pretty much what you want.
Because they're cottoned onto the fucking way that the internet works and how people work now, which is anything that garners attention is good.
Yeah.
And so if it garners attention, it should be associated with your brand of whatever bullshit. Because that way, your brand of whatever bullshit is getting attention.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean?
Yeah, someone in the chat says it's some Nick Land shit. Yeah, it's precisely that. And that's the fucking weird elitist faction that sort of wormed its way into the more sort of populist right, which is sort of represented by Trump. And I eventually think the chickens will come home to roost. I eventually think that there probably will be a populist right revolt against these technocratic elites. But right now, most of the sort of populist right is blind to the fact that these people are kind of like, you know, they're the deep state, the very deep state that a lot of Trump supporters are like railing against and are rightly suspicious of.
He's the biggest,
you know,
donor of.
He's one of the biggest donors of and supporters of, yeah.
So your vote of like, oh, we're fighting back against what? And like you're not fighting back against anything. But the thing is, like anything.
You said this last week. You said that Trump represents to a lot of people a fight against this nebulous thing that seems to be subverting, you know, democratic will and, you know, pulling the strings behind the scenes in a way that people feel powerless to control. And I understand that sentiment. And I mean, even the fact that he got shot at kind of almost compounds that in a way. But you can't be blind to the other elements of his constituency. And this sort of like weird, quote unquote, libertarian, technological accelerationist, Silicon Valley faction are not pro-freedom at all. And they're not anti-deep state by any fucking stretch of the imagination. They're like in bed with the goblins. And that's why I'm also very suspicious of the sort of dissident media scene as well, because a lot of it is astroturfed. A lot of them are Peter Thiel people.
That's my point. If you wanted to be a real dissident and wanted to talk about stuff without anybody like saying, oh, banning you can't do this, you can't do that, you would not be on fucking Twitter. And you wouldn't be on the open internet. You would be finding those spaces in places where there is unquestionably no one that can fuck with you. But the thing is, it's difficult because, like, even Whitney Webb, who I would say is one of the better journalists out there. She's a journalist. Not everybody's a fucking journalist. People are just shit posters and call themselves a fucking dissident.
But no, the thing is, you can't monetize. The incentive for the shit posters is the ability to monetize one's opinions. And going underground not only takes away
notoriety or fame.
All of those things are things that people don't want to give up. So that's why they'd rather, like, you know, play on AstroTurf. And I know, like, a lot of people like look at me weird sometimes and they're like, why do you not try to push yourself harder on social media? Why aren't you trying to like get in all of these spaces? And it's because I saw what it is behind the scenes. And I realized I don't want to play on AstroTurf. There's no point playing on AstroTurf.
No, I fully believe that Red Scare podcast is one of Thiel's vehicles of propaganda.
Cough, cough. A lot of the dissident space is completely AstroTurfed in that regard. And their whole kind of agenda is to kind of carry water for that faction.
Well, I would tell you what, I will be interested to see what happens to a few different people in the next coming weeks or months, right? Yeah. Because Whitney has written this like bombshell article kind of really...
I don't think people care yet. I think people are more...
Well, people that claim to be dissidents should care.
Yeah.
And so they have to do
fucking Tucker Carlson is implicated too. Sorry.
Let me finish.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm getting excited.
Let me finish. Everybody that is trying to claim clout as a dissident needs to cover this article. Because it is exactly the sort of thing that dissidents would be covering.
I have
she went then on Jimmy Dore's
Yeah,
show.
that's what I was going
and
to say.
talked about it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
very openly said, "Are you paid by
Peter Thiel
because you're on Rumble?" And he very fairly openly said,
Yes.
yeah, he gave me a financial incentive to put my show on Rumble, and I wouldn't have done that otherwise, and so I'm doing that." And he still released that episode. I wonder if that episode is also on Rumble. It's not like Peter Thiel can not see videos that are on YouTube, but not only him, Redacted, a bunch of people that would be perceived like these are the real dissident journalists or whatever.
But that's what I'm
in the
saying
mainstream. We'll see how much further they can get after covering someone and being as open like that.
Yeah.
And before they get a call to say, "Oh, no more."
But just the same way that wokeness and social justice was astroturf, the same thing is now happening with quote unquote dissident, being a truther, being a conspiracy person. A lot of it is astroturfed. A lot of people do have ties, despite, speaking out of one side of their mouths, they're doing the other. And not all, like someone like Jimmy Dore, for instance, openly admits, and he's like, hey, where do I go? There aren't any other platforms that are going to be non-hostile.
Well, no, I think that's bullshit. He has a massive platform. He'll make a pretty decent amount of money on YouTube as it is, and he does stand-up shows, and he does a bunch of shit, and he shills fucking gold and all sorts of fucking shit.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think that he's necessarily struggling for shit, but it's just you would be offered something more, and it would be almost no effort to you. So why not say yes?
Yeah.
And until you kind of actually are a little bit more critical about where you would fucking get that stuff from beyond, oh, it's some shitty app or some shitty game and I'm not going to promote that because I don't do that. And I'm an old boomer, so I will shill you gold because I understand that and that's what I have my money in.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like unquestioningly just like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do that. And yeah, you're doing all this stuff and Glenn Greenwald's on there.
Yeah.
And, sorry, maybe we shouldn't talk about that one.
Oh my God. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I've seen behind the scenes of the sort of dissident scene, and like, while I was sort of, in those realms, I wasn't aware of what was happening. And the fact that all the sort of dissident energy was getting sucked up into this like strange vehicle. And it's because a lot of people were frightened at the time. I mean, people were getting censored. People were losing their platforms. People were, getting kicked out of, spaces that they had been in for a really long time. It was a very trying time. And I think a lot of people were cowed by it. But that shouldn't suspend one's critical thinking. If you claim to have values that are opposed to technocracy, that are pro-freedom, you definitely shouldn't have someone like fucking Peter Thiel like in your corner at all. And yeah, he's someone that we should all be very suspicious of. And yeah, I am definitely suspicious of JD Vance for sure, especially considering the fact that he was groomed by Peter Thiel from like university and has all this money behind him, I
wonder if Peter Thiel was on Epstein's island.
Oh yeah, there's ties between Peter Thiel and Epstein too. You just read the Whitney Webb article. Read it's quite long. We'll put the link in the description. But read the Whitney Webb article. She does fantastic journalism, and I highly recommend checking out everything that she does because she's pretty cool. But yeah, like I definitely think it's something people should watch out for. The techno dystopia is the thing that we should all be like afraid of. It's the reason we have this show. It's the reason we called it Mystic and the Machine in the fucking first place. Because like the partisan shit isn't like interesting. It's not the existential threat. That is the existential threat. And the thing is, neither party is opposed to using technological apparatus in a way that fosters tyranny. Like, two examples, the Democrats, as soon as Joe Biden got in, like all of the censorship that went down, the sort of, the weird stuff that went on with the January 6th committee and all the weird extrajudicial shit they did that was like really unconstitutional. They showed that they don't care about the abuse of power and technology so long as it benefits them. And Trump also, when, he was censored on Twitter, for instance, during his presidency, when he was kicked off of Twitter, the first thing he did was invoke market forces, which shows you the kind of mentality he wants to approach the problems with big tech through, you know? So neither party is good on any of this at all. They're both terrible on it.
No, but that's kind of why I think like the establishment or whatever were so genuinely terrified of people like Bernie Sanders and Corbyn, because they were peace candidates. Only people that were like genuinely like, no, we're not going to keep the military-industrial complex going, and people like actually fucking openly talking about it, and like denuclearization and all that kind of shit. That is all the stuff that directly funds all of this like fucking deep state stuff.
Yeah.
And they're the only people that were a genuine opposition to that in my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
So
well, that's gone.
That's why they were
That's
so
done and dusted.
heavily propagandized against and like everything else, right?
Yeah, and also fucked over by their own parties as well.
Yeah, because
not that I believe Bernie Sanders would have done any of that.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders less so, but like you know,
no. Corbyn even like I think he may have tried, but I don't think he would have been successful if he had tried. But yeah, I feel like
it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda.
It's all coulda, woulda, shoulda at this point. Yeah, but yeah, that's the reason why I don't really. This will probably be the last like big episode that we do on election stuff, because there's an incentive to, because like.
Well, you say that.
Yeah,
and then,
until
like,
something crazy and ridiculous happens, and then like. Maybe we'll do another one if something really significant happens, but...
There is some quite interesting things going on with technologies, which we'll probably talk about more next week.
Yeah, big time. And I want to also like dive more deeply into this sort of Thiel stuff as well, because I've only really skimmed the surface this episode. But yeah, I highly recommend reading the Whitney Webb article to kind of clue yourself in a little bit more about the weird corners. And if you're somebody who has dissident... heterodox views, politics, whatever, you know, just bear in mind that all the schizos kind of get lumped into the same category, both digitally and unfortunately politically. And like, unfortunately, that big pile of schizos has some really shit people in it.
If you really want to contend with some interesting ideas, go on 4chan, dude. Like, go to the real shit.
Oh my God.
Okay, but you're not going to gain any fucking like... you know, follow account or anything like that. It's just going to be you and your brain and engaging with people and their fucking ideas, okay?
Well, you don't need 4chan anymore. Twitter is Twitter has basically become 4chan.
That's what I'm saying. No, because it never will be. Because
it literally is, though, now.
No, that's just like a very surface level take, okay? It is. I'm just saying that. But I hate to be catty and mean.
Now I need to see... Now I know where you were hanging out as a young teen.
That is a very surface level take, okay? Because the very function of the way that those websites work is so different that it is not the same. Maybe people feel brave and they can like share a little bit of an edgier tweet now on Twitter, but it's still nothing in comparison to what you'll find on 4chan. And not only that, the way that you engage with something is heavily dependent on its incentives. There are no incentives outside of making other anons chuckle behind their fucking their screens with what reward do you get?
Well,
There's
now on Twitter,
on
since Musk bought it, you can make money.
That's the point, though. You gain, you have an incentive structure to gain attention, to do all of this stuff, to be the most shitposty fucking whatever the fuck within whatever parameters, you know. None of that exists in places like fucking 4chan, and that's why the website is more unhinged and will forever be more unhinged than Twitter, and is the actual place where you would go if you were a fucking someone that wanted to contend with free and open ideas and talk openly about shit. Those places already exist. Not even on the deep web, just on nasty parts of the fucking open web. Not even nasty parts, just parts that are really founded in the true philosophy of free speech, which is kind of like gross when you get to a certain point, right?
Or not just that, just like obscure people. Like if you have a heterodox perspective these days, you kind of have to resign to a certain level of obscurity if you want to remain principled. Because if you chase these incentive structures, you have to kind of give up a certain level of your own sort of autonomy in order to appease one or the other faction or avoid pissing off one of the other faction. Yeah,
exactly.
So in my point, there's just no point trying. Just fucking do your thing. Say what you want to say. Don't look at the numbers. Don't look at who's watching or who's not watching. just do you, because the entire media environment right now, especially when it comes to politics, is fucking astroturf. And as somebody who's been kicking around it for a while, maybe one day I'll get into the weeds of the things that I've seen and what I've witnessed. You know, it's all puppet. It's a puppet show. It's bread and circuses. And it's a distraction from like a more insidious agenda that's like coming down the pipeline in the next couple of decades. And it doesn't matter who's in the fucking White House. The technocracy marches on. And there are some really frightening new technologies and systems of control and surveillance that we should all be fucking concerned about right now.
Like the pre-crime thing is fucking trippy.
Sci-fi as fuck, dude.
And
how does it work? Like, how is it? What are the mechanisms
so
of it?
It sees, like, I don't know, just for example,
witchcraft is the satanic harmonic fucking witchcraft is how it works.
It has access to all kinds of data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So including like how you spend your money.
Mm-hmm.
When you would spend your money, all of those kinds of things, right? Like your transaction histories and things like that. And so if it sees that you take, you know, a bunch of money out in cash every week, and society has become more and more and more digitized, and you live in a major city where all the shops are going to take card.
Yeah.
That's, if you lived in like a fascist society that wanted to lock down on any type of crime, you would immediately see that as a red flag.
Yeah, big time.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's literally as simple as that. And then it can be as simple as the types of people that you follow on Twitter and the types of people that you, other websites that you then correlate with your history
I'd
and
be
stuff
in very
like that.
big trouble.
Well, everybody would think, would think that, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the whole point of it is like the argument for it was always, if you've got nothing to hide, then you shouldn't worry. And I don't know if people are even making the fucking arguments anymore. It's just kind of accepted that this thing is going to roll through. And it's sort of not demanded that anybody is sort of going, dude, like, let's stop with that. I think they're like, people are freaking out in America that they're going to need a facial scan to enter the country or to get off a flight or whatever the fuck like this. We've had that already as part of like quick access boarding in the UK for the last 5 years minimum, I would say, like a long time. And we don't even really think about it like that. You literally do not even fucking think about it like that. But that has already been in place in places like the UK for a long time. And not only that, I think the funny thing is that I was like completely fine with them, because to me that's just sort of a computer looking at the scanned passport photo of me, looking at the screen, and then making like a percentage yes or no kind of decision. I'm not thinking about it like facial recognition in that kind of crazy way. But when I went to enter America for the first time, and I've got to put all my fingerprints in the fucking machine and do all of that,
and all of that
there's
stuff.
no other country in the world that I've ever visited that's made me do that. That made me freak out way more than fucking the idea that that it's going to blip my face and I get to go through the gate quicker.
True. Well, even then,
that's how they get you.
For my final point for the evening, though, back to the whole kind of surrendering of autonomy thing, and like that you were talking about, and the fact that people are just sort of accepting this as a given, and there hasn't been any serious kind of resistance against it. I think it's because consciousness has regressed so far to the point that like people still want a daddy or a leader. They want someone or something or some process to take over, rather than taking responsibility for their own communities, their own souls, their own lives, and, you know, their own circumstances. And I feel like that was what was really creepy about, you know, the Trump RNC thing, was that you saw people kind of, again, creating a messianic figure that they were pinning all of their hopes about the deep state on, yet the vice president that's standing next to him is like a fucking astroturfed, demonic, harmonic, Peter Thiel fucking glowy.
Smells like sulfur.
That smells like sulfur, you know? And that's what happens when you fucking don't do the Jungian work of individuation, and you self-abandon and you project your power into something other than yourself. And that's what we need right now. That's what's going to fix things. That's what's going to make things better, is people taking responsibility and facing the problem head on and realizing that we do have the power to say no. We shouldn't treat this technocratic dystopia as if it's just like a given and like it's just something that's going to happen regardless. Like, we can say no,
but that's the
and
thing,
we should be.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Is that even if that, even like what I was just saying before, like if you had someone that did actually stand as opposition against any of these ideals, the idea that they would even then be able to achieve that once they got into the highest position, democratic position in the Western world, right? Like, that kind of, doesn't that speak volumes?
Yeah, it does. That's 100% correct.
Like,
yeah.
That I think that's kind of most of the subconscious resignation
Yeah.
of like, where do I advocate to get this heard?
True.
Where do I advocate for someone to stand in any meaningful position and fight against this?
Well, that's what we need to start thinking about and troubleshooting. These are the meaningful questions that should be being asked. Meanwhile, everyone's chatting about whether fucking Kamala Harris is black or not, or whether the fucking...
I was curious. I mean,
it's just like, these are just like the dumb conversations that like are happening when like there's a technological dystopia looming, and like satanic, demonic, harmonic tech demons like Elon Musk and fucking Peter Thiel presenting themselves as like messianic figures while they're in bed with the goblins and the deep state and creating all these fucked up dark technologies that are going to end up becoming fucking apparatuses of human tyranny and like control in the near future. This is the stuff you should be worrying about, people. Okay. Like, and yeah, like Alex Jones would never. Fuck yeah, I'm challenging you, Alex Jones. Alex Jones would never. You know why Alex Jones would fucking never? Because he's in bed with those goblins too. So much of the conspiracy truther blah 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 scene is astroturfed. He would never, because he's like always rimming fucking Elon, because he's like, he wants to be in the places in the media scene where he can have access to streams of revenue and all of this shit. None of these motherfuckers have any fucking principles whatsoever. At all. They don't give a shit.
Alex is an interesting
Alex will talk a big game about the interdimensional demons and shit, but he doesn't see the interdimensional demon standing next to him. So yeah, fuck all of these people. And yeah, I really think that people need to think more critically about this dissident media space, because a lot of it is astroturfed, controlled opposition. And this Peter Thiel thing like fucking reveals that.
Alex
fucking reveals that.
Just annoying.
That's not to say that what some of these people say doesn't have some truth to it. You can find truth anywhere. But in terms of like principles, none of these people have any. And I think that Whitney Webb kind of snatched everybody's wig with the article. So read it.
I don't know. It'd be interesting with Alex, because he did manage to survive so long without being on Twitter or on YouTube.
But he'll never, ever,
places.
ever address any of these contradictions. He wouldn't do what Jimmy Dore did. He wouldn't have someone like Whitney Webb on his show to like challenge him and ask him, why are you in bed with the goblins? You know?
Well, it would need to be, that's the point. He would need to confess to being in bed with a goblin.
Well, he won't, because it'll fuck up his bag.
Jimmy Dore did confess to being in bed with a goblin.
He did. But and that's why I have more respect for him. But the thing is...
Redacted rejected it. He
Oh,
said,
really?
He said, no, we don't take any money from Peter Thiel. We are only supported by our viewers. He gave, like, the perfect PR answer to
Perhaps
that
there'll be a
question.
reckoning in the fucking dissident media scene. It's long overdue anyway. And there's a lot of rot.
They're super on Rumble as well.
Are they as well? There's a lot of
So-
rot, deep rot and darkness at the core. Yeah.
I don't know if those two are just like such cynical media people at this point, because they run it more kind of like a news thing than Jimmy does, right? Jimmy kind of still runs it a bit like a podcast, like he's chatting with his buds and whatever. Like Redacted run it like we're the news, but the other side.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
Pretty much,
So,
yeah.
like, for him to be like, no, we are 100% by our audience. There's no Peter Thiel money here. It's like, isn't there now?
Oh my
I
God.
don't know if I fully believe you, Mr. Redacted Man. I don't know if I do. I think you lied. I think you lied in that interview with Whitney Webb.
Yeah, Yeah.
And I would be interested to kind of like, I don't know, I want to see all the people that have had her on, and then make a call at the end of the video to see if whether they've lied about their in bed with.
Are we gonna have to make a wall of shame next week?
I think it'd be interesting to make a graph.
Yeah, we'll replace our backdrop with like a wall of shame.
As I'm such a fan of visualizing data, I think it would be great to have a pie chart graph of all of the alternate media figures and the percentage of them in which are not paid by Peter Thiel.
Oh my God.
And the ones that have admitted that they are.
Well, those ones, because I mean, someone like Jimmy Joe, I don't have beef with. Or do you? Do you have
it's
beef?
Not that beef. I don't.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not saying that.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's weird because at the same.
It's interesting to visualize data.
Of course, you're using your.
And it speaks to people.
You're using your powers of autism for God's work.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, it's one of the things that also sort of weirds me out about the Peter Thiel connection is the fact that there is kind of a weird post-secular.
He's sort of like an internet Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, or I don't know. There's kind of a weird post-secular angle to it as well. Like the dissident right also has this very kind of religious, or I don't know how would I word it? Like they're like things like re-enchantment and the idea of the failures of secularism needing some sort of spiritual remedy. These are ideas that are very sort of welcomed in dissident spaces, not so much on the left.
No, it's that they all just start to treat these like amorphous ideals of like freedom as sort of like religious things.
Well, not just that. On the right, they're
end up on stage with a fucking tattoo on your face, with a teleprompter, looking like a mug.
Well, not just that. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, on the dissident right, there is a sort of religious undertone in that sense, and in dissident spaces in general. And I guess it's because dissident spaces are more open to heterodox ideas, and that does include the esoteric in some form. And I put myself in that category. I'm somebody who's very, very interested in esoteric ideas, and those are ideas that definitely inform my philosophy. However, the way that it's sort of manifesting within the sort of Thiel space is this weird sort of reactionary Catholicism, weird kind of like neo-pagan, weird like technological accelerationist, thelema fucking mishmash of just a lot of weird garbled philosophies kind of tossed together, kind of similar to kind of like land stuff. And there is sort of like a cultural, philosophical, as well as technological aspect to what Thiel is doing, which is why he funds these influencers, because he's trying to kind of create a cultural sphere. There's a philosophy behind what he's doing. I still haven't figured out fully what that is yet, but I definitely know that accelerationism is something to do with it. And yeah, there's also the political aspect of it with him funding candidates and pushing them into the political sphere.
It's just all the games you play as someone with that much money, which translates to influence.
Yeah. Someone says "Hail Eris." Lol.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. I there's not a day where I'm not thinking about Robert Anton Wilson and the kind of.
He would love now for sure. He would love this time period if he was still around.
You see, that's the thing. I'm in this group on Facebook that kind of is the biggest group I've found on the internet of people just like talking about Robert Anton Wilson stuff all day, every day, which is amazing. But then, like, I would say almost maybe 50% of the posts are like
boomer libs.
Boomer lit, like boomer, like blue no matter who, lib. And it was just sort of like
jarring.
All of them like debating in the comments as well with like normal people and like people that aren't libs.
Yeah.
Just being like, I don't think Robert Anton Wilson would have been like you, bro. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
Like how much like dogma like you're just like regurgitating.
Yeah.
And for you to be like, oh, Rob Anton Wilson was progressive and always political, so he would definitely have voted for Joe Biden and this kind of stuff. It was really just sort of
he would have been cancelled. Number one, he wrote for Playboy. He wrote for Playboy before he became sort of a schizo writer. He was like a real big pervert.
He was just anti-dogma.
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
that he would see the way that
He would have been
religion
cancelled
has
now.
become, that religion has become so political, that politics has become so religious, that he would see that translate as the dogma of all
now.
All of the kind of ways that you need to morally virtue signal, all this kind of stuff. So I think he would be such a really. I wish he was able to have completed his mission of cryogenically freezing himself so that we could bring him back and we could get his insight.
He said
on
the
today.
Discordian to Blue Anon pipeline. Lol.
It's real
sad.
thing.
It is sad. And the thing is, we have friends who are like around in the 60s and the 70s who you think would like get it. But unfortunately, the boomers kind of stay stuck in this like very liberal paradigm, and they're incapable of seeing their own shadow. So a lot of the boomers that were around during that kind of time when Discordianism was at its height and people were sort of experimenting with different, ways of viewing the world have just kind of settled into like intellectual laziness.
Every time I think about Joe Biden now, I think about that stupid smile that Adam Ray did on the fucking Kill Tony podcast.
That was great. That was
like,
great.
Jesus,
that was great.
dude, he absolutely nailed that shit. It made me laugh so much. Fucking hell.
Yeah, for sure. It is real crazy. It is real crazy right now. Stay grounded. Stay hydrated. Keep your eye on the technological dystopia, and hopefully. Yeah, next soon or whatever, I want to definitely go more into some of this Peter Thiel stuff.
Same with the 90s cyberculture people. Boomer libs now. Sucks.
That's
Greg,
awful.
That can't be the case, bro.
That's
I can't
so terrible.
Like, what?
It's so bad because it's like, how could you get so... But maybe it happens to all of us. Maybe in the next 10 years, we will become intellectually lazy. Like, I already feel myself kind of getting out of touch, And in a lot of ways, I am very out of touch. I'm fucking 30.
I'm super out of touch, which is probably, why I don't,
But it's disappointing. Like to round it out, like for instance, the Jack Black controversy. That's an example.
R.I.P. Tenacious D. R.I.P.
That's an
Tenacious
example.
D. Can we just take a moment to mourn Tenacious D?
Do we have to do a moment of silence?
Like one of the greatest rock bands, let alone comedy acts, one of the greatest rock bands of all time. We have had the passing of this week because of all of the fucking hysterical bullshit around this stuff. So let's have a moment of silence. Let's close out the show. A moment of silence for Tenacious D. Because, that was fucking stupid. And, like, I understand why they broke up and all of that stuff. But Jesus Christ, that's fucking...
But it just goes to show, like, how are you going to pretend like you're this sort of hippie, progressive rock star, and then salivate at, like, someone's death.
It's like literally the Gen X rock stars that live now. So it's like, yeah, everyone that was like taking drugs and doing and like making great music in the 90s is now like, yeah, I'm sober and vote for Joe Biden now.
And I'm vegan.
Like, what the fuck happened
it's
there?
Sad.
Like, this is fucking insane.
It's fucking sad. And it's ruining culture as well. Like, it's fucking ruining culture.
You know what's great? Conforming.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what's great, guys? Having the opinion that is the good one.
Yeah.
To make sure that you fit in and that you don't ruffle no feathers and that you're friendly and that you vote for the perceived progressive candidate. Otherwise, you clearly want to genocide
everybody.
Democracy
you want to genocide democracy at large.
There you go. That's how it should be.
In 2024 and moving forward, don't tolerate people with that kind of mentality. Don't tolerate it at all in your life or in your personal life, at work, anywhere. It's not necessary. You don't have to put up with that. Being a sovereign being is like integral to being a good person. Because if you're not sovereign and you don't have the courage to be sovereign, you don't have the courage to practice any other value consistently. So I don't respect people who play nice all the time.
Well
they
said.
usually aren't very good people. But yeah, that's a good spot to end the episode.
Trump killed the metal.
He did. He killed the metal. Everyone's just lame now.
I can't believe it.
Everyone's like online and mad, and no one's ever going to be cool again
Trump
because
actually
of it.
killed the metal. I got to see the metal before they broke up. So, I'm glad I didn't see them more than once, but Jesus.
Someone said, I vote chaos. Me too.
Hail Eris.
Hail Eris. And with that, we shall leave you folks and love you folks. And yeah, join us on Patreon if you want to get access to our Discord. I am so sorry that Movie Club has been late. We are going to do it this Sunday. We've had a lot of shit come up. But yeah, if you want access to Movie Club and to discuss Solaris with us, join us on Patreon so you can get access to the Discord. We have a great community in there of like-minded individuals, and it's a nice place if you're looking for people to chat with about stuff like this, and if you want to hear my schizo rants and esoteric musings. So yeah, catch you guys next week.